enough?
Yeah, absolutely. Welcome everyone to the last session for the day. Let's show some love to Andrew. Trust me, he's worth the wait. You're going to be listening to the keynote now, which is going to be super amazing. So over to you, Andrew.
Fabulous. Thank you very much. I've had so much going on today. I've not had the chance to join in, but I've seen this tree and it looks awesome. Just so you're aware, my camera is here. My presentation's in front of me. I can see you all on the screen here. So if I'm looking to here, I'm not ignoring you. Quite the opposite. I am actually looking at all the stuff you're chatting. Please use the chat. I facilitate sessions for learning technologies and Closer Still and the learning technologies group and so on. We'll get 400 or 500 people in the rooms. I love it when there's loads of people, 30 people here. Tell me in the chat why you're here. Okay, so you've hung around. There was 50, 60 people in the last session. We got 30 odd people in this session. I'm interested. Why are you here? Why are you hanging around? You know, it's 3:10. You know, you can go and get a cup of tea in the UK. You know, probably later. Yeah, why are you hanging around? And just please tell me in the chat why you're here. Therese, love to see you. Keir, Kim, nice to see you. Adeniki, hello. You haven't got a life, Carol. No, you have got a life, and that's why you're invested. That's what it is. You're invested. To listen to me, Nicola, oh God, please, that's scary. So who am I? So let's walk through. Let's have a look and see what we're doing today. So my name's Andrew Jacobs, independent learning consultant. I would very nearly put the same shirt on today, but there we go. I'm based in London in the UK. I've got over 30 years experience in L&D, as you can see on there. Worked for about the first 15 years. I was your typical sage on a stage, like doing the learning design and talking about stuff. About 2015, I decided actually we could probably do stuff. 2010, we could do stuff a bit better. And for the last 15 years, I've been looking to see how we can do things differently. Range of sectors. I'm also a chartered fellow of the CIPD, and I produce the podcast Women Talking About Learning, which, if you haven't listened, is one of the best podcasts in learning and development. Quite simply because women underrepresented in senior roles, and we only have women guests on the podcast. And there's been quite a few people who I see in the room have been on the podcast. So please do get in touch if you're interested in that. Again, through the chat. Please, I'm interested in the chat. Published a book in 2024 called Proving Impact, and that's what we're going to be looking at today, Proving Impact. And that's where the title of this comes from. 4.6 isn't enough, is because I'm really worried that we are focused on producing happy sheets that give us scores that average out as 4.6. And we seem to assume that 4.6 is good enough. And I don't think it is. I think it's so much more than that. And that's what we're going to spend time on today. So let's have a look. What's wrong with measurement in learning development right now? In the chat, please tell me what you think are the problems that we have with learning development right now. So just paste in there where the evaluation issues are. I'm just setting my timer just so I've got my clock in front of me. So I'm not ignoring anybody, quite the opposite. I want to make sure that I'm on time. What I would like you to do is please tell me, in your mind, in your eyes, what are the issues around measurement in learning development right now? Where do we get measurement wrong, or what's good? Put it in the chat for me. Please tell me what's wrong with learning development. Okay, so EduTech fan, interesting. You say ROI. Is that what's wrong with it? Is it the fact we're trying to get ROI? Just expand on that a little bit for me if you can do. Really keen to get your thoughts on this. Stephanie says it's non-existent. Okay, Stephanie, not at all. Or are we counting the wrong things maybe, which is Jasmine. Thank you, Jasmine. I love that. Measuring the wrong things. What's the right things and what are the wrong things? Just start thinking about what some of this is. Measurements that don't enable change because they're not asking the right questions or results are being ignored. That's a really interesting point, Keir. One of the things I talk about in the book is about our bias. There are 188 cognitive biases, and we tend to be biased towards the data we like. Proving our ROI senior leadership. Absolutely, EduTech fan. One of the problems is because value equals the benefit divided by cost. If you don't have a benefit, then value is purely cost. So we need to demonstrate what the value is, and that's some of the stuff we're going to talk about. Kim, Bums on seats is not an indicator of impact. Absolutely. Donald Clark, agree with him on some things, disagree on others, but I agree with him on this. If you're counting bums on seats, you're counting the wrong end of the person. It's absolutely perfect description of where we're wrong on some of these. Focusing on qualitative feedback only, not the quantitative side, Adeniki. Very good, absolutely. And like Nicholas says, numbers are only part of the story. So it is bigger than that. I'm going to show you what I think is wrong with measurement right now. So I love this. Here is a park, okay? And here is a slide. And just tell me, let's assume that the blue hill is learning. The brown slide is your learning management system. This is a perfect example of what is wrong with learning and the measurement of learning right now. If you were to ask these kids, did you have fun? The answer is going to be yes. If we look at the slide, how many of them have used the slide? And the answer is 0. What we've got is they tap in occasionally. I love that little fella there on the left-hand side. Oh, I'll just hold on. I do need it. I'm just going to check. And we've got the boy in the red here who comes in just for a little bit at the end, and the kid at the top. I tap in and then, whoa, I'm on my own. I love the girl here going down. I'm just going to check social learning. I'm just going to look. Just check with you, fella. Is this how I do it? And then you've got the guy who goes, no, this is how you do it, and dives down head first. My fear is that what we do in L&D is we try to be the guy walking up the stairs. Look on the right-hand side, and you'll see the guy walking up the stairs. This is the way we go. We go up the stairs. We're sensible. We use the learning management system, and that's the way you're going to learn. You're a new starter. Welcome to our organization. You don't learn with everybody else. What you do is you come in and do the things that we're doing. And this, I think, is one of the problems we've got in learning and the measurement of learning. Fundamentally, what we have is a whole world of learning that's happening. And because we can't see people tapping into the slide or using the slide, we don't count it. I'll pause for a moment. Does this what it feels like in your world? Let me know in the chat. I'm interested in the chat. Please, in the chat, just let me know what your thoughts are. Does this feel like it for you right now? Please put your answer in the chat. Similarly, any questions you've got, please make sure that you forward your questions into me as well. Happily pick up the questions at the end. But is this what it feels like in the world of L&D? Because what I think is there's loads of people in the learning technology space trying to build better slides. And there's loads of people in e-learning and online and instructional design trying to build easier ways for people to get on slides. But actually, do we need to build a slide? And yeah, Nicola, I asked, did you enjoy it? We get no or yes. Yeah, we need to ask about the experience. So if you said to him, did you have a good time at the park? What are you going to do differently the next time you come to the park? If we're relying purely on the data in the LMS, if we're relying purely on the data on the slide, we know nothing. We know that people with red are more likely to tap on the slide than other people are. That's the kind of causation, correlation stuff we come up with. 2 girls over on the left-hand side, just doing it on their own, not even using the slide. The boy who dives down head first. I want the boy who dives down head first to be my learning role model. He's the guy I want for us to be talking about in learning development in my organization. I'll move on. And part of the problem is because, you know, when I was a kid, we had big slides. I mean, we had a slide that was so big in my local park. We were talking about the late 70s. Yes, I'm that old. And this slide was nearly the height of a 2-story house. And we used to climb up that slide, massive slide, and then slide down it. It was enormous, really steep. And we used to fly off of that thing. What we used to do. Oh, I can hear something. Oh, somebody's off of mute. and they're coming through on the audio.
Please, can you mute yourself? I'm actually trying to do it from here. It's okay. I think it's done. Yeah.
Thank you. I just didn't want to. I didn't want to. I didn't want to compete with people. So I was on this big slide. Thank you very much. I really appreciate it, Olin Mindola. So this really big slide, and I'd be on this really big slide, and I'd be going down this really big slide at a rate of knots. We used to polish the slide so that it would go super fast. And that's the way we did. And we did it on concrete. There was no sort of black padding or anything. How many kids hurt themselves? Hundreds, obviously. But that's what it was. And that's what work was. That's what learning was. Work is different now. The things we used to do in the 60s and 70s and 80s aren't the things we do now. But we're fixated on this way of learning and just redesigning learning. And work is different, and it has moved on. And we're in a very different place now that we used to be in learning and in work, and as a consequence, learning. Modern working is about these 14 things. These are the things that have happened probably in the last 5 years, 8 years, perhaps. Remote and hybrid. Remote and hybrid has been coming in for ages. I was working in the early 2000s, 2001, I was working remotely. But now we're much more remote, much more hybrid. So there's a shift in how we work. The platforms that we can work on are different as well. I log into my email, but actually I can log into Slack, I can log into Teams, I can log to Miro boards, Google Workspaces, etc. I've got all of these because all my clients have got all these spaces, and I will log into lots of different places to work now, which is a very different way of working before. AI tools and automation have driven a wedge in the way we work now, particularly in the last 2 years. Well-being and mental health is a much bigger priority in relation to workplace now, specifically post-pandemic, fundamentally because the way we work is different now. And we recognize that people need mental health support and well-being support. Essential. This week in the UK is Mental Health Awareness Week. Did we know? Maybe not. DEI initiatives are incredibly important now. I know what's happening in the States. I know there's some challenge around what's happening in the States. But what we have is there are still initiatives to understand who people are and how they work with us. Let's drop down a row. Agile methodologies beyond technology. So we've got Agile. Agile has been picked up outside of tech design, and we're now thinking of Agile in the workplace. We've got much more data-driven cultures now. We've got more data than we've ever had before. Thousands of hours, 17,000 hours of new content being uploaded every day to YouTube, for example. I understand. It might even be every hour being uploaded to YouTube, the way it's going at the moment. So we've got much more data. So if we have more data, shouldn't we be much more informed about how we support people in work? We've got bring your own device and cloud working, which I think is very interesting as well. We all have a mobile. How many of us use our mobiles more? So a really interesting comment from somebody recently where they were saying, mobile phone batteries don't last as long as they used to. No, it's because you're using it about 5 times as much as you used to keep up with the constant scrolling and all the videos that are playing. We're in a different world now. Micro learning and online upskilling has now become really important. I remember when the MOOCs first started around the early 2010s, and you had Udemy and all of these providers. We've gone down now to seconds worth of content. In the past, if I didn't know how to do something in Microsoft Excel, I might book a course. Now, if I don't know Microsoft Excel, what am I going to do? I'm just going to Google or YouTube even. How do I create a pivot table? And I will see the 1 minute 46 seconds, which I can pause at any moment I want just to continue. Flexible career paths. The way that our paths used to be in the past are now very different. Our paths will be different. And the path that I took for me to get where I was is going to be very different to the path that other people. In the past, just to give you an idea, I used to be a butcher. I've been a children's entertainer. I've been a repossession man. I've worked in the fire service. I've worked in Department of Health and Social Care, lateral flow device testing, etc. Career paths are very different now. And then we look at the bottom. CSR, corporate social responsibility. We've got multi-generational workforces. You've got people in your organization now, who are younger than Google. You take a graduate on now, they are younger than Google, which is slightly scary. You take on a new school leaver next year in the UK, at 16 years old, they'll be younger than an iPhone. Just something to bear in mind. You've got those people, and we've got people who have reached retirement but haven't retired. So you've got someone from 16 through to potentially 76, 60 years of life between them. That's multi-generational. We're in a really interesting place now where employee experience is more important than engagement. So we're seeing a really interesting drops I'm seeing in NPS kind of scores and engagement and so on, and a focus more on experience and what does experience look and feel like. So what we're doing in learning development is shifting, I think, and there will be a shift towards that. And corporate and brand integration, we're seeing that much more within the work that people do. So your happy sheet isn't going to cut it anymore, because this is the world that the people who are scoring you are working in. Out of those 14, pretty much you can go through those 14 and you're going to identify some yourselves. I mean, realistically, do you recognize these? Give me a reaction. If you recognize these, throw me a thumbs up. If you don't, throw me a thumbs down. Just throw me a thumbs up here if you think these are things that you recognize now. Love it. I'm seeing the thumbs. They're all thumbs up. Are there any you don't recognize? If there are any, please put it in the chat for me. Just tell me in the chat the ones you don't recognize, because it'd be useful for me to know if there are any in specifically, because, you know, get in contact with me afterwards and we'll talk about it. So tell me the ones that you don't know about and throw them in the chat, because it'd be useful to me to have a look back at the chat afterwards. So as a result of our work expectations, our learning expectations have shifted, and we're in a really interesting place around this right now. What I think is really funny is the nature of how we used to do learning. We used to produce just in case learning. That was what the requirement was in organizations. Train people just in case they do something wrong, so that we're covered. We can, you know, if we get sued, we can go, well, they were trained. And that's where most training comes from. A startup to a scale up and a scale up to an ongoing concern. Training comes from a function of audit to make sure that you're legally covered. And most learning in organizations tends to start in that space. And we built learning in that space just in case. We moved from just in case learning to just in time learning. And technology enabled that. You know, very much the floppy disk and computer-based training, the old CBT, when it first came out. And there's this just-in-time approach to e-learning design, which I think is really interesting. It's technology-enabled, it's digital, it's mobile, and it's platform-based. The platform-based thing is interesting. There's a lot of e-learning design. I assume a lot of people here will be designing to a platform to be hosted. I have a concern, because what happens is these two here, just in case and just in time, aren't necessarily what our users want. Our users in the workplace that they are now want just for me and just enough learning. They want just for me accessible and self-directed. They want a choice which they can put into place. So you give them a menu and they pick and choose the stuff that they think they need. And they will assess for themselves. This is what we mean by personal assessment. They will assess for themselves the things that they think they need. And the timings will be fluid. They're not going to spend all of the time in your module. So the 100% completion, throw it out the window, because they will use what they think they need in order to be successful. And then they will self-determine. They will work outside of your function, and they're already doing it. How many people here? Throw me a thumbs up. Throw me a thumbs up if you've used AI search. If you've used Google and you've used there we go. Brilliant. Simple question. Your users in your organization, why aren't they doing exactly the same? And why will they go to your solution rather than the solution which they can look for themselves? This is the issue that you're working in. You can't just mandate they'll go to your platform, because they're not going to look up, how do I learn how to? They're going to go to Google and type, how do I? We know the answers potentially will be wrong. I was looking at some really interesting wrong answers earlier on today. Yeah, how many stones should I eat every day? One small rock a day, says the US Geological Survey, is a Google response. Completely rubbish. We know there's wrong responses, but we've always had wrong responses in conversations between people. People talk to each other and give each other duff advice. So we have to think about doing it differently. Exactly. They're probably looking it up via AI arrays. Exactly. And that's self-determination. It's chunking down and it's available anytime, anywhere, and any place. In this world, you can't rely on getting 4.6 on a happy sheet to be a good indicator for managers and people in your organization about what good learning and development is. We have to measure differently. We can't just count the bums on seats, beautifully put in the chat. We can't just count the data points that we've got. So I went away and I did some thinking, because the evaluation expectations have shifted now. We need to produce just in case evaluation. So there's confirmation that activity has been completed. That's still a point. We still have to do that. However, there are 3 others that we need to work to. The second one I was thinking is availability of information when urgently required. Most of our systems work on a slow process. So there's something more agile, use the word I've used already, in how we can collect the data. We need to produce just for me reporting, personalized information about teams and working groups. Because if I'm a manager, I don't care what the organization's doing. I want to know what my people are doing. And then lastly, shorter and streamlined responses for specific sponsor demands. And to do that, we have to change expectations around evaluation. So how are we going to do it? Looking at what is on there, very quickly in the chat, how do you measure now? Is it just happy sheets? Is it quizzes? Just give me a list in the chat of the kind of things that you're doing now around the measurement and evaluation piece. And I'm going to go back through the chat and have a look and see what people are saying. Thank you, Nicola. The typology, I like that. The just in case, just in time, just for me. Only you used to say just for me, and it actually changed post-COVID to just enough. In the chat, please tell me. I can see people typing. Tell me in the chat, how do you measure now? I'm really interested in how you measure now. There's 36 people in the room. You've all got an opinion on how you type. So tell me in the chat, how do you measure? I'll just pause for a second or two and wait for these to come through. I'm really sorry. I hope I'm saying this properly. Shigetsu, with your connection. I hope that you can hear me. EduTech fan, our official onboarding doesn't help people when they need it. Yeah, they forget what they did on the onboarding. With institutional knowledge not being captured. That's a perfect example. Thank you. That's a perfect example. When people are walking up the stairs, that's the onboarding, isn't it? We lead them to our LMS and go, come and see our LMS and look at all these wonderful things that you can do. Beccamola, thank you. Yeah, ask for feedback and review months after training. I'm going to come back to that because there's specific timescales that we talk about. Kim, depends on the client. That's interesting. Yeah. Working in evaluation of freelance gig can be challenging if they don't want to pay extra, no matter how much we talk about benefits. That's a good point. I work on an independent basis as well. To me, that's part of the design, because if I can prove that it's impacted on performance, then I've demonstrated better effect. And if I demonstrate better effect, they'll come back and ask me to do more. So there's a negotiation to be had there, but you are right. End of training, quizzes, feedback sheets. Yeah, absolutely, Onikachi. Useful. And I'm not denying that they are useful. We just need to think wider than that and a bit bigger than that. Our org has multiple approaches, said Therese. Through mostly LinkedIn, although I'm hoping to grow multiple ways using automation, chatbots, quizzes after duration. Yeah, absolutely, like others are doing, yeah. Happy Sheets, Virginie, lovely to see you, Virginie, nice to see you. Debrief with the person who ordered the training. That's useful. That's really useful to do. Let me show you how we might be able to do it a little bit differently. Let's have a look at some. So real world. I was responsible for design, delivering, evaluating the rollout of lateral flow device testing within the UK. Remember these little lateral flow device tests, the COVID-19 stick the thing up your nose thing? Here's a simple one. What do the C and the T stand for on that image? What do you think the C stands for? And what do you think the T stands for on the image? One of the things that most people got wrong. We was on a simple scorn platform. We just built some e-learning. Control and test, brilliant. Control and test. Do you know one of the most common questions that we got was C was COVID. So many people misread C being COVID and they thought the C meant they had COVID. Perfect example of people getting it wrong and some of the things that the misapprehensions and legends that made their way around. We were training people who were in schools, universities, care homes. Where else were they? Local councils who were doing testing locally, in retail, transport hubs where stuff was being put out and so on. So we were training the people who were training the users, and we trained 550,000 users. So I had some awesome data. And what we've done is we've taken that data and said, okay, so what's it look like in the real world? And this is how we think that you can be looking at data in a different way for evaluation. First thing we say to people is there are 4 areas that you can and could be focusing on. First one is input. And input data and output data are both learning data elements. Those are elements that you can collect. It's interesting, when I said the things as to where you collect data, feedback forms, happy sheets, and so on, the measurement, everybody's coming back to me. All the things that you've mentioned in there, which are brilliant, are input and output related. Because that's what we do. We're learning people, so we look for learning data. And we were able to capture tons of learning data, but there's levels of data I'm going to show in a moment, which takes it way beyond what we've done before. What we don't do necessarily, and one thing we struggle with is, everybody tells me, how do we prove impact? What are the outcomes? How are we outcome focused? And that's the performance data. So we've got to think slightly differently about where we get these things from. So the input and the output is how people enter and exit our learning. The outcome and impact is what happens next and what effects are created as a result of people doing the learning activity. So I spent some time working out this, thinking about this logic model, and then went, okay, so let's find some real world examples. Let's have a think of which we can collect. How many of you collect outcome and impact data now? So we've mentioned input and output data. How many of you collect outcome and impact data? If you just give me a thumbs up, if you think you collect outcome and impact data. Give me a thumbs down if you don't think you collect any. Oh, I saw one thumb up appear. Another thumb up. Okay, we got a couple of thumbs up. Few thumbs down, though. Okay, yeah, I get why there's a few thumbs down. What are we looking for? All right, let me give you some clues. Okay, let's give you some clues. So what might look like in the real world? This is an example of how we can collect this data differently. Top left is input data. 556,000 users access the platform 3.1 times on average for 53 minutes. Now, if you've got users accessing a platform 3.1 times, is that good or bad? On its own, it's meaningless. I can't say it's good. I can't say it's bad. What it is it's a data point. What matters is the context it operates in. So let's look at the exit data. Initial visit was 40 seconds. And the third visit was to the same place in 80% of occasions. And so we had to pause and do some analysis. Why are people coming here 3 times? Why are they only spending 40 seconds? And why are they all going to the same place thirdly? And we did a bit of research and we found some really interesting stuff. So when people were sent the link, so a new site was created, you are now going to be doing testing. You've been nominated as a tester. This is the guide and this is the pack. You will need to register on this platform. People would register on the platform, realize how much they have to do and leave. So that's 40 seconds. It doesn't sound a lot. 40 seconds times 556,000 users, though, what does that do to productivity? Seems a small thing. On the third time, what they did was they went to the same place 80% of the time. We couldn't work out why. And we realized that sites had multiple devices. So what they did is they went to the same summary page, which listed the difference between devices. There was one called Genie, and there was a range of different devices. What we did is we built a FAQs document, a frequently asked questions document. This FAQ frequently asked questions document was downloaded 117,000 times in the first week. That's output data. Now, a learning function could sit back and go, didn't we do well? But that's not our job. Our job isn't to do that. Our job is to make an impact on the performance of an organization. Calls to the help desk dropped from 50 a day to 4 a week. The impact was that we reduced the costs of FTE from 5 to 1 on the help desk. Now that's business impact. We reduced the time that people were logging onto the platform. Another example, users in schools completed the modules quicker. We realized that what they were doing is the people in schools didn't want to be doing the testing. We had 200,000 more voids in schools than anticipated. Why? Have you ever tried to train teachers? They don't like being told what to do. And I asked the question, what does C and T mean? That's where some of the biggest issues were. We were having lots of voids in schools, partly because they were misreading C and T, and there was debate over what it was. And we found that there was more voids. So we had to rewrite the instructions specifically for when they were launched in schools. And at £5 a pop, that was £1 million on void tests in schools. That 200,000 more voids was in 1 week. We rewrote the instructions and voids went from 200,000 in schools in 1 week down to 1,200, which we thought was pretty good going. So we can put our hands up and go, we saved about £950,000. That's business impact. That's what we should be doing in L&D. This is the data you capture. You look at your entry and go, when did people enter? Where did they enter? Screenshot this if you want. I'm more than happy for people to screenshot this slide. Content. How much content? Was it completed? Was it favored? Who did they share with? When did they share? How would they share? When did they exit? And did they come back? And where did they go next? And lastly, here you go, that little bit of happy sheet. Useful data. Very different to what we capture now. What's it look like in terms of impact? I realise the time, I'm going to scoot on. I know we started a bit late, but in terms of outcome and impact, these are the really important points. Now, you don't have to collect all of these, but I would expect there are 2 on here, which are essential, of areas that you need to count or measure. Just type in the chat for me. Out of these 2, what do you think are the most important? Or out of these 8, which are the 2 most important ones? Type in the chat what 2 you think are the most important. I'll talk around them as we're doing it. Baselines is where we're starting from. The baseline is not the baseline learning performance, but the baseline performance data that we're looking for. So if you're doing management training, what's the performance of your managers that you're expecting? Repetition, not repetition of the learning, but the repetition of the task. How many times does it take somebody to be competent? One of the things we looked at was how many times people needed to practice before they were competent at the performance. And what we found out of the thing was it was twice. So we built into the notes, test yourself twice over 2 days before you start testing other people, and make sure that you can do the results. And guess what? Repeating twice, people were more competent. And we found, and we got people to test that and gave us the repetition of focus. Control group testing, A/B, because do you know what? Education was different to somewhere else. So we looked at control groups in terms of performance. Estimation to reality. We knew that within 2 days was the best time for people to be doing the learning. So any more than 3 days before was too far ahead. 1 day before, it was too much. So we told people, your site's going to go live on Monday, do the training on the Friday. And then over the weekend, the Saturday and the Sunday, practice testing so that when you came to the Monday, you were able to do it. And that was the easiest way. So we shifted site openings to Mondays. That's how we informed the business. And guess what? We brought in really good social testing. Context, location, team size is going to be important. Because if the location is in a care home, very different kind of testing that you're doing in a care home you might be doing in a transport hub. We had bus drivers, multiple failures. Why was there big failures? Because they were testing in the office. They weren't testing in the canteen. Why do they do it in the canteen? Because they had water to wash their hands. And they weren't washing their hands before they were doing the testing. And so we were getting bad support, bad results. Qualitative. Now we want subjective performance. We want to know, how do other people talk about it? So when people said they really enjoyed the learning and they really enjoyed doing the testing, we got the feedback on that. When we had feedback from people saying the number of tests that were being done and how helpful the people were and how quickly the test results came, we were taking that as, you know what, we contributed to that. Then business performance, 3 areas in business performance. Edward, yeah, no problem. Connect me on LinkedIn and I can sort out sending a PDF set to you. My LinkedIn, I'll post in the chat, or if Ojumola wants to include it. Satisfaction and churn, those relate to employee details. Controls and audit, they relate to internal control. We should be seeing evidence of a change there. And similarly, customer expectation and customer satisfaction, those are also data points for us. And then lastly, business result, which is this business revenue and so on. I said out of these 8, there should be 2, which you always do. Let's have a look and see what you've got. Business performance and business result, Nicola. I agree with you on one of them. Business result, not always, Keir. Not always. Business result, says Edutac fan. Not always. Business performance and results, again, not always. Business performance, yes. Business performance is one of them. You know, the other critical one, the essential one, and please note this one down, is this: baselines. If you are not telling people and working with them to understand what the core baseline performance is, and then how you measure and the impact that it makes on the business, what you're doing is counting, not measuring. You're not evaluating. What you're doing is counting the stuff that works. Fundamentally, evaluation, you cannot continue measuring that we have and say you're evaluating what we do now unless you can demonstrate what's the baseline performance that we are looking to start from, and then how did we shift it. Not the learning performance, not the 3 days that it took to design the course, not that 70% of people thought it was great, not that we got a 4.6 grade point average, but this was the baseline business performance we wanted to move. And this is what happened as a result in terms of employees, internal controls, or customer satisfaction. I'm going to run through. I mentioned very quickly earlier on about months. And this is a model that we talk about. We talk about the focus of 10, the power of 10, we call it, which is 10 days, 10 weeks, and 10 months. So 10 days after somebody does something learning related, what are their thoughts? What are they struggling with? What are their reminders? What's their impact on work? What's their future outlook? If you're willing to connect with me on LinkedIn and send me your details, I will send you a questionnaire 10 days after this event, and I will ask you some questions about what you are now doing differently as a result of all the sessions that you've covered today. And you can pause and think, and you can complete it and send it back to me, or you can just use it for your own self-reflection to think about what are you going to do differently. 10 days is a really important point because it takes you more than the week, the 7 days on from what you did, and actually gets you to stop, pause, and reflect back and, well, what am I doing now that's different? And if it's nothing, well, do I need to do something? We call it the so what question. You did that. You spent a day watching webinars. So what? 10 weeks later, what we ask is to reflect on the goals. So you must have come to this session with a purpose. What was it? And are you moving it? Have you got strategies that are now being adapted? Are you collaborating and sharing in a different way? Are you seeing changes that are beginning to happen because you started stuff, or do you need to start planning for them? Are you seeing things happen that maybe you hadn't expected? That's our unexpected outcomes. And are you seeing an impact on your organization? The 10-week questions are the now what questions. So what? You did that 10 days ago, or 10 days ago. 10 weeks later, yeah, now what? Now what are you going to do? And then 10 months later, we've asked, so what? We've asked, now what? At 10 months, we ask, and what? And what was the effect of this? And this is the strategic change that should happen. If you can't see 10 months after an event that organizational processes have changed, organizational goals have moved, there's been a cultural shift, an impact on talent and future initiatives and capability building, if you can't see that 10 months after you've done a learning event, what difference did you make? And why are they keeping you here? Our problem is if we can't prove our benefit, we are a cost center. And now, more than ever before, we have to prove our value. Because as it stands at the moment, AI won't take your job, but somebody who knows how to use AI better than you will take your job. And unless you can prove the value of what you do and the benefit and the impact on the organization, it's going to get tough. But there's change. There's ways to do it. I've just given you a half dozen ideas around how we can do this stuff differently. Don't assume that stuff's going to be exactly as it was. It is going to change, and there's going to be more changes in the workforce and the workplace in the future. But we can't hark back to what we've done. We have to look forward. And a way for us to look forward is to focus on performance. What else do you want to know? What are your questions? All yours, Jamola. Any questions you've got for me? Anybody come back with any questions? I can't see the questions. Please do let me know. Throw your questions in the chat.
Amazing session. It's been very interactive and filled with so much value. Can we have questions? I know, because the session has been interactive, I'm sure you've answered some people's questions, getting them to think about things. So let's see. Questions?
See. Yeah, copy the so the Edward, copy the slides. I'll definitely get a copy of the slides. That's not a problem. I can sort that out. Like I say, follow me on LinkedIn, or connect with me on LinkedIn. Sorry, not follow me. Connect me on LinkedIn. Tell me you were at this session today, and that you would like a copy of the slides, and we'll send a PDF to you. If you would also like the 10-day evaluation, just to think about what you're doing differently, then please do the same again. Connect with me on LinkedIn. So Andrew Jacobs, L&D on LinkedIn. You can email me, you can telephone. I've put a QR code up there. If you want to buy the book, Proving Impact. Oh, there we go. If you want to buy the book on Proving Impact, it's not massive. It's about 10 or something like that. Please feel free to buy a copy of the book. And the last image you've got on the slide there is the images of the women who appear on the Women Talking About Learning podcast. It's the thing that I love doing in learning development more than anything else. It's the thing where I say to people, come and talk to other smart women about what's good in L&D. And I just hear brilliant conversations. This week's one is just amazing. The work-life balance one. Cannot recommend it enough. It is a superb conversation, which I strongly recommend that you listen to. And if you're interested in being, or if you're a woman and interested in being on the podcast, please do get in touch and let us know. Kier, do happy sheets still have value for short-term improvements about delivery as well as feeding into bigger picture? They do. My issue is, Kier, is we rely on them too much. So you get a happy sheet, and there's predominantly 3 comments, okay? Yes, no, thank you. That's the 3 most common things you find answered on the bottom of a happy sheet, okay? So, yes is normally an answer to, will the session help you in your work? Yes. That's the question, and that's the answer. The second one is, do you need to learn anything further about this topic? No. And we put that question on and everybody says no. And the last one is, we say to people, what would you like to say? What else would you like to say? And people write, thank you. Yes, no, and thank you. You're laughing, Indamola. You know this. This is true. This is what happens. You put on a happy sheet. People go, yes, no, thank you very much.
Yeah.
And that's what people put on there. Yeah, the happy sheet and the better alternative. Thank you, Nicola. The podcast, Stephanie, is Women Talking About Learning. That's what it's called. It's just women talking about learning, and it is awesome. It's the favorite thing I've done in L&D. My LinkedIn profile, I've put that in there. Virginie, thank you. Yeah, he didn't know I'd written a book. I know. Scary. Scary. Our LinkedIn profile, let me have a look back. Anything else? Yeah, so Keir, the short-term improvements thing. So you ask those questions, really useful, but don't rely on that data. Look at the data that goes around it as well. Look, for example, who was nominated and who was mandated to be there. That's a really interesting counterpoint. If someone's mandated to be there, they will have a different perception on what's expected than the person who just turned up. Yeah? Somebody who wants to be there, as opposed to someone who needs to or is being told to be there, they will have a different perception of what's going on. So that qualitative point needs to be considered with terms of quantitative data. How many people were mandated and required to do it, and how many people just turned up?
Great, amazing. This is such a wonderful way to end today's conference. If you have not put your reflection on the reflection tree or takeaways, please go ahead and do that. So at the bottom right corner of the page, you see Andrew's name. So that's the point where you pick up a note, duplicate it, and just share your reflections, share your takeaways on the right side. And if you haven't done for all the other sessions that you attended, please go ahead and do that. Let's show some love to Andrew for such an amazing session, very interactive and packed with so much value. Let's show some love. Yeah, thank you, thank you, thank you. So before we leave, I'll just quickly share a few things with us. So of course, apart from the reflection tree, we have some QR codes for you to connect with us in the L&D Hub, our Instagram page, LinkedIn, Discord. And if you want to help sustain future events, all our events are free. Do that with the QR code. And you'll definitely also receive a message after this session thanking you, an email thanking you about this session, and you can have access to all these links. And also, if you are signed up on Butter, which is a platform we're using now, you'll definitely receive the recap for all the sessions that you attended. There, you'll be able to see all the resources, use the links, the charts, this reflection tree, you have access to it, and you can also put in your reflections. So thank you, everyone. I'm going to quickly share my screen and also show us a few things. We have a workshop happening tomorrow. So if you attended our workshop for this month, which is affordable learning, tomorrow is part 2. And if you didn't attend part 2, we're going to do some recap as well. This is me. If you came late, Oyindamola Ojuere-Amiato. I'm the founder of the L&D Hub. And what we pretty much do, okay, before I talk about that, these are the team for today. Please, let's show some love to them again as well. Let's thank them for taking time to be with us today, taking time to out of their busy schedule. Some people joined from a different time zone and they had to come very early. So let's show some love. Let's thank them. And if you go to our event page, the conference page on our website, you'll be able to connect with them on LinkedIn if you haven't already done so. So let's do that. The reflection tree, I've talked about it. Thanks to our sponsors, Bekamola and Genially. So what we do at the L&D Hub is we're building a community of learning professionals to teach them how to leverage technology and upskill. So we do this through community, through we also help them to gain experience apart from skills and work experience. How do we do this? We run hands-on workshops where we give them assignments. They get to do, they get involved in mini projects, and they make use of technologies that are trending. For example, we've done an AI, and we also partner with learning technology providers to give access to some of these platforms free, so that our learners can have access, bootcamp, webinars. We also, of course, partner with, apart from learning tech providers. We partner with L&D professionals like our speakers today. So if you are interested in running a webinar on any topic that you think will benefit people, please reach out, and we'll be happy to get you involved. This initiative started as a project by Becca Mola in September 2023, and we wanted to help 250 people gain skills for EdTech career by the end of 2025. By the end of 2024, we surpassed that goal. We were able to not only grow our membership to 700 members who participate regularly in webinars, workshops, mentoring, and all. We also graduated 10 students from our 12-week boot camp to become certified digital learning professionals. We've also supported a number of schools in their career fair by giving awareness about EdTech roles. If you're all sincere with, many of us fell into L&D by mistake, but it's good to start talking about it in high schools, letting them know that this is a career they can actually start early. And we've also supported non-profit organizations in their digital learning programs. So we got incorporated in March, which we're really excited about, which will help us impact more people. And we like I said earlier, we're open to partnership with learning tech providers and learning and development professionals. So our next steps, we'll continue to create awareness, run boot camps, have in-person projects and workshops, continue to do our webinars and conferences. We have stopped the mentoring program because most people that opted to help, they are just not, it's just not working. So we've stopped the mentoring program. So next steps for everyone, if you want to attend the workshop tomorrow, just go to our website. I've put the link in the chat. I don't know if I sent it. In the chat, you see the link to our website. If you go to our website and go to events, you'll be able to see all the upcoming events that we have, the workshops, we have workshops, we have webinars coming up, and we also going to be supporting more people in their career through a mastermind event coming up soon, starting on Monday. If you want to, it's more like ask me anything kind of event where you come and ask questions about how you can, do better in your career. We're starting that on Monday. Everything is on the website. Join the L&D community on Discord if something that you like to do. Follow us on LinkedIn and help us sustain future events. Thank you so much, everyone. This is the team. Thank you for making this happen. We have all the QR codes also on the tree. You're going to get that when you get the recap, and also links in the email that will come to you after. Thank you, everyone. And please share your takeaways on LinkedIn. That would be great. Tag L&D Hub, tag me, tag the speakers. Let people know what you gained from this conference. Thank you so much. Yeah. Yes. Yeah, somebody from Singapore. In fact, I'm going to watch the first session we had today where people were talking about where they joined from. It's been amazing. Thank you so much, everyone. So have a great rest of your day and week. Bye for now. Bye. You're welcome. You're welcome. Yes, there'll be recordings. So if you registered, it will